Hey, this is Jared, and this is my top 10 favorite completed manga. I made a video like this last year, and I thought I would just make an updated version. And last year it was a top 20, but I kind of made it smaller because last year's video was pretty long, so I wanted to make it a little smaller. The list is kind of similar to last year's. Completed manga list isn't going to change as much as the ongoing manga list because that story changes and my opinions change. But completed is completed, it's done, so my opinion doesn't really change as much with completed mangas. But I did go back and look through all these series again and refreshed myself. So, the order is a little different. And so yeah, this is my completed manga list. I'm also going to be making my ongoing manga list because I just don't think they should be combined. I just feel like they should be two separate lists because uh, my favorite ongoing manga could end up becoming like, I don't know, my eighth favorite manga like once it's done, because I don't know where the story's going. I could end up actually really hating where it goes and my whole opinion changes. So I just don't like to compare the two, so I like to make my list separated, my completed manga and my ongoing manga. So yeah. First, I'm just going to show some honorable mentions that didn't make the top 10, just real quick. One is Naruto. Yeah, it's one of the big three, and manga snobs may look down at me for putting this on, but it's a really enjoyable shonen. It's really long, like, God, I can't remember, like 70 something volumes. But a manga like that, for that long, of course it's going to have its ups and downs. And this series did. There are times where I actually just got really sick of Naruto. But it's done now. I've gone back and reread the series. And overall, I still think it's a really enjoyable shonen manga. So if you like shonen, you should definitely read Naruto because it's really good. And you could buy the box sets of the whole series now. So you don't have to buy like a whole bunch of single volumes. You can just buy the complete set. So yeah. Another one is Pipo Chu. It's only 3 volumes. Definitely not a shonen. From that cover, you could automatically think what you want about it, but this manga really surprised me. It actually has a lot of heart to it, and I think you would be surprised too. It's actually really good, especially the third and final volume. It really surprised me, so don't just assume the worst of this, like it's some just raunchy, ecchi manga. I mean, it does have that, but it's got a really good story. It's got a lot of heart, so I would check it out. Another one is Higurashi When They Cry. I'm not a big horror fan. I don't really have that many horror mangas in my collection, but Higurashi I enjoyed for the mystery. Like, each arc is pretty much, well, the first couple arcs is a retelling of the same story, just with a bunch of changes, and it makes you think, like, why is this happening? What's going on? And eventually, they start these answer arcs, which is the second half of the series, and they answer the questions that you had for the first couple arcs. And I really like the way the arcs all came together, and I really like the story and the ending and everything. So I really recommend you checking it out. If you like it but are thinking of dropping it because you're just still confused and not getting it, I would recommend keep continuing because it does sort itself out and it's worth reading. Another one is Death Note. Everyone knows Death Note. Everyone loves Death Note. The reason why it's not on my top 10 and why it's not one of my favorites like most people is just because I thought it was a little long. It's only 12 volumes, but I still felt that the second half started to drag on. Like, the first 7 volumes were great, and then the story, I just didn't like where it was going. Luckily, though, the final volume was great. I really liked the way the series ended, so it made up for that. But yeah, Death Note, it is really good, and you should check it out. And lastly is Azumanga Daioh, which is a lighthearted comedy about a bunch of high school girls. And the whole series is put together in this one big omnibus, so you can just pick it up. And it's not like a deep story or anything. It's very like episodic, like the way it's formatted. They're like comic strips, but it's lighthearted and fun. If you don't like that kind of comedy, like you're not really a family comedy kind of person, you might not like it too much. but I really enjoy it. I'm holding it backwards, and yeah, it's really good. I like it. Not as much as this creator's other series, Yotsuba. I actually like Yotsuba a lot more, but that's still ongoing, so you're not gonna see it on this list. But yeah, and it's just one volume, so I really do recommend picking it up. It's great to just pick up at any point and read a page or two because, it's not a deep story, so you're not going to get lost or try to remember stuff. Alright, anyways, now for the top 10. Alright, number 10 is Negima. Now, Negima is kind of like Azumanga Daioh, where it's very lighthearted, but it does have a little ecchi in it, especially at the beginning. This creator is also the creator of Love Hina, which is probably one of the most famous harem mangas, and I'm not really big on harems. But this is how the series started, was just a harem of this magic wizard teacher in a class of all girls. And it's just him teaching them, and yeah, hijinks and all that. And while I did enjoy it, and it was fun, the story progressed and got much more interesting. And I love the magic. And what I really love is this creator really knows how to give screen time or page time to every student in the class. There's like over 20-something students. But throughout the series, you actually get to know like all of them. There's no one left out. It develops characters very well. So yeah, it's actually really good. As it goes on, the series doesn't even need like the fan service moments. I mean, they're still there, but they get smaller and smaller. And it doesn't even matter to me anymore because I think it was a great way to grab some people's attention because it's kind of a girly manga, so they needed something to drag the boys in, I'm guessing. But it just develops really great, and the whole magic world is really cool. The only reason it's not higher on my list is because the final arc does get very confusing, and there's still some parts of the ending that I just don't get or that weren't developed right. So I wasn't very satisfied with the ending. The characters all get a very conclusive ending, which I liked, but the story itself, there were moments where I'm just like, what? What was, like... So that's a big negative, but it's still number 10 on my list, and I still enjoy it a lot. So that's Negima. Alright, number 9 is Parasites. Parasites is 8 volumes, I think, and it was recently made into an anime, so you might know it from that. I haven't checked out the anime yet, though I really want to. But the manga is really great story about alien parasites coming down, and this guy gets the parasite trapped in his arm. And now his arm has its own thought process, which sounds very weird, but it's actually really good. And the alien discovers what it means to be human, while the boy starts becoming less human. So that's very interesting. The parasites usually infect people's brains, which causes them to fully take over and be, I don't know, just these creatures. And he goes against them. So it's very cool. I like the story a lot. I love the ending. There's not really any problems I have with it. It's just the right amount of length, 8 volumes. So, really great seinen manga. If you don't know, seinen means for like older people, like adults, and shonen is for younger boys. So, yeah, so it's more for adults. And yeah, that's Parasite. Check it out. Very good. All right, number 8 is Dragonball, and that might seem like a weird choice, but I really do love Dragonball. I've loved it since, God, elementary school, like years ago. I'm 25 right now, so it was a long time ago. And it introduced me to anime and manga. In fact, Dragon Ball was the first manga I started in my collection. And it's just a really great shonen manga. And I know a lot of people make fun of Dragon Ball for the ridiculous length of episodes and powering up, but that's the show. The manga doesn't do that. Like, Goku turns Super Saiyan 3 in like a page, while in the anime it was an entire episode. So yeah, there's none of that problem, and it's just a really solid shonen fighting manga, and I really enjoy it. If I was making this list just on nostalgic purposes, this would be like probably 1 or 2, because it just means a lot to me. But because like I chose this list, thinking and not just all on nostalgia, it's only number 8, but 8 is still really high, and I do highly recommend Dragon Ball. Just like Naruto, you can buy the whole collection in these like collection like omnibus things like, and I think they're releasing a full color version and all sorts of different versions. I don't know why they have so many versions, but Shonen Jump always does that kind of thing. So yeah, Dragon Ball, I recommend it a lot if you like shonen. If you like shonen, I'd be surprised if you haven't read it or watched it. So yeah. Number 7 is Shaman King. Now, Shaman King, I got introduced to later in my teenage years, and I fell in love with it. I love the main character Yo. I love the whole thing with the ghosts and using them, and it's just really cool. And the first couple volumes introduced all the characters and had little arcs, and then the entire rest of the series is just this big tournament to decide the next Shaman King, who is basically God. Shamans always have spirits that become a part of them. Well, to become Shaman Kings means you have God as your partner, so that's a pretty big deal. They hint at how in the past, like people like Jesus and Buddha and all that were Shaman Kings. So, anyways, I love Shaman King a lot. The only problem is the series originally ended with a big to be continued. Like, it didn't have an ending. The series creator just stopped because it wasn't as popular anymore. And that was terrible. I hated that. And then one day, like, he announced that he would actually finish the manga, and I was so excited. And he released like 2 volumes worth of new chapters, and I really loved the ending. I was very satisfied. I was worried that it wasn't going to be good, but I really liked it. The problem is they never released those chapters in English volumes. So the English volumes end on the cliffhanger. They're like 32 volumes, I think. So if you do read the series and collect it, just know to go online and finish the series. Don't just read the last volume and be like, that's it? No, the ending is out there. You just have to go get it. Hopefully someday Shonen Jump will re-release the series with the true ending. I don't know why they don't do it. They cancel series all the time, like Hitman Reborn, and yet they release 5 different versions of Death Note and Dragon Ball. I don't know. I don't know why they do that. So, yeah, anyway, Shaman King, really good. I think it's my favorite shonen on the list. Maybe not, but it's definitely one of my favorites, so go check it out. Alright, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I lost count for a second. Alright, number 6 is Black God, probably the most underrated manga on my list. The mangaka is actually Korean, so it's a Korean manga, but he made it in Japan. So I don't know. Anyways, Black God is really good. It kind of has a similar connection to Shaman King, where 2 people form a like 1 person fighting team. This girl comes from a land where they're not immortals, or well, they're kind of immortals, and they're not gods. It's hard to explain. I guess you could think of them like Asgard, you know, where they're higher beings of people who live much longer. And anyway, she comes to our Earth and forms a contract with a normal kid, and they just fight other people like her. And that's the basic premise of it. The story evolves and gets really interesting, especially the last few volumes where they go into the history of our people. That was probably my favorite part of the whole series. It was just really cool. And it sucks that this manga isn't more popular. Maybe if they come out with a new anime, because whenever a series comes out with an anime, it gets way more popular. I mean, look what happened with Attack on Titans. Only some people knew about it, and then the anime came out, and now everyone talks about it. So, I don't know. I wish more people read manga. It seems like 90% of the anime community just watches anime, which sucks because there's so many great stories out there. But anyways, Black God took me by surprise. I was not expecting anything out of this when I picked it up, and then it just was amazing to me. So yeah, Black God, check it out. By the way, all these mangas, you can buy the whole series in English now. Like, they're not just completed in Japan. They've also have all their final volumes out here in the US, so you can go and pick up all this if you want. Alright. Number 5 is Claymore. I originally got Claymore because I heard it kind of was like Berserk, which is one of my favorite ongoing mangas. So I decided to check it out. And it does have that medieval fantasy like Berserk, but that's kind of like the extent of the connection. It's also very gory, so that's something, but it's not like graphic gory, so you don't have to really worry about it too much. I mean, there's not like super detail into the gore. But, anyways, it's about this world where these demons called yokai exist, and this organization of female knights called claymores show up and kill them for a fee. And claymores have the blood of yokai in them, so they're half yokai, so that's what gives them the power to kill them. And this girl, Claire, is a yokai killer, claymore, who goes around and just takes on these bounties of killing them. And this boy follows her, and the story develops from there. And I really liked it. There was an anime that covered the first 11 volumes, and I haven't watched it, but it kind of sucks that it ends with volume 11. It created its own ending, which sucked. And I think the story actually gets better after volume 11. I liked it more, so, what are you going to do? But Claymore is finished, and I liked the ending. I liked where it went. And it was on my list last year of favorite ongoing manga, but it's done now, so now it's on my list of favorite completed manga. And yeah, so go check out Claymore. It's really good. If you like medieval fantasy, I highly recommend it. Alright, next is 1, 2, 3, 4. I keep forgetting where I'm at. So anyways, I Shield 21. Now, I'm not a sports person. I don't like sports. I never watch them, especially football. It just has no interest to me. And yet, I love this manga so much. It's just all about football. The main character, he's just a little kid who knows how to run fast, and the football team has him join. And it's just, I don't know what it is. Like, it teaches you all about how football works. So if you don't know football, don't worry. It explains it all. And it's just really cool to see the teams, the different teams, and they all have these unique themes and the abilities and all that. And I don't know, I love it so much. It's got the same, the mangaka is the person who illustrates, One Punch Man. So if you really like the artwork of One Punch Man, which I think everyone does, he also made this manga. And I don't know what else to say about it. It's just really good. It's my favorite sports manga. If you like sports, check it out. If you don't like sports, still check it out because I'm sure you'll still like it. It's a lot of fun. And it's one of the few mangas that got me, got my pulse going. Like, I was in the moment during some games, like, oh my god, are they going to win or not? Because that is an actual fear. Like, they don't always win. So when, like, it looks like they're going to lose, it's like, oh my god. So, yeah, I Shield 21. Alright. Number 3. Number 3 is 20th Century Boys. Now, 20th Century Boys isn't number 1, but I do think it has the best storytelling out of all of these mangas. The story is amazing. It goes through 3 different generations. It shows this group of kids when they're very little. It shows them as adults, and then it shows them as, like, old men. And it's a mystery about a terrorist guy who pretty much forms a cult and everyone worships him, and he pretty much makes the world bow down to him, but his friends know that he's not actually a good guy. He's actually plotting to pretty much destroy the world. And the reason they know that is because they formed this story of this terrorist as little kids, and the main character notices in the news as an adult that all this stuff from his childhood is coming true. So he and his friends have to figure out who this is because they know it was someone in their group as kids, but they don't know who it is. So it's this big mystery of finding out who it is and trying to save the world. And it's such a great story, and I love it a lot. The creator is Naoki Urasawa, who is famous mostly for Monster, which is everyone says is his best work. And I like Monster a lot, but I like this story a lot more. Probably because there's more fantasy to it. I like fantasy, and Monster was mainly a very realistic murder mystery. And but yeah, 20th Century Boys is amazing. I can't remember how many volumes of it, but the final two volumes are called 21st Century Boys. So just know that if you decide to go out and get this whole series. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's just, if you want a great storytelling and everything like that, if you want a very great plot, then check out 20th Century Boys, because it's really amazing. Alright, next, number 2. While 20th Century Boys I would recommend for everyone, Gantz I would not recommend for everyone. Gantz is very, very graphic in both gore and nudity, so just know that before you get this. It's definitely for adults. Now, I love Gantz so much because it gets my pulse going. Like, it is intense. It's basically a bunch of people who think they died, and they wake up in this room with other people who thought they just died, and they're basically forced to go out and kill these creatures who they're told are aliens. And basically people die constantly in these missions to kill aliens, and even main characters die. So each time when someone's life is threatened, you don't know if they're going to come out of it. You know, usually in stories there's no fear. You know that the main character is going to live. It's not going to happen. But in this series, it's scary. And not only that, but the aliens are terrifying, because they do some very gruesome stuff. So every time you see a new alien, it's kind of like, oh god, what is this thing going to do? So yeah, Gantz is very intense, and that's why I like it. Sure, the story isn't the most greatest thing, and it's not the most thought out thing, but it is amazing to me. And the artwork is amazing. And yeah, so it's really good. Just, I would definitely check it out. Buy at least one volume, and if it's not your thing, then that's fine. But otherwise, keep reading, because it gets really good. And I don't know, not much to say else. The series, a lot of people didn't like the final arc because it wasn't a mission anymore. It was just this big war. And I actually liked it. Like, when I read it from chapter to chapter, I was agreeing with people that I wasn't really as into it. But once it finished and I could read the whole thing just through and through, I actually really liked it. So yeah, definitely check out Gantz. It's really good. Alright, and my favorite completed manga is the same as last year, which is Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah, nothing's changed. It's still an amazing story. There's so much to it, so much lore that I don't know. I'm not even sure how to give a simple synopsis of this. Basically, it's a world where alchemy exists, and these alchemy users are pretty much, I don't know, like the law enforcers of the world. And the main character and his brother do something illegal, which is use alchemy to bring someone to life. And it doesn't work out right, and they get punished for it. And now the whole story is them trying to get back the pieces of them that's missing, that was taken away from them. And it's so damn good. I went years without reading or watching this series because just from pictures it didn't seem interesting to me. And I really wish I didn't do that, because when I finally saw it, it was amazing. I did see the anime first, the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. But while I was watching it, I started reading the series and would watch an episode and then read the chapters right after. That's how into it I was. I would just go back and pretty much read what I just watched. And the anime Brotherhood follows the manga perfectly. Like, it's probably the best adaptation of a manga I've ever seen, because it follows it. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't leave stuff out. It's great. So this is one of the few times where I would say, if you don't feel like reading the manga, then watch the anime. But make sure it's Brotherhood. There was another anime called Full Metal Alchemist that was made when this series was still going. So they only followed the first like 5 or 6 volumes, and then they just did their own story. I don't think it was as good. It made up its own ending. I didn't like it. So make sure you watch Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, not the original anime, because it follows the manga completely. So yeah, that's my favorite. That's number one. Those are my top 10 completed mangas. I'll make another video for my top 10 ongoing mangas, which should be a lot different than last year's list because, you know, that changes all the time. So yeah, thanks for watching.